Hello, friends, both old and new. I am John St. Baptiste, and this is Music Makes People Come Together, where we share amazing and eclectic music with amazing and eclectic people, much like yourselves. I'm going to say some words to you really quick. Rubber, pet, revolver, sergeant, smile, white, let it be. Because here's what we're talking about today. This is the newest installation of the history music, and I hope you enjoy this chapter. This channel is all about sharing music. I share music with you. You share music with me. We share music with each other, and a good time is had by all. Playlist is going to be in the description down below. While you're down there, if you'd be so kind, like and subscribe, and more than anything, please share, because that's what this channel's for. I share music with you. You share music with me. We share music with each other. Good times had by all. So let me paint you a picture of some relatively privileged young men from California and some snot-nosed boys from Liverpool. And both of them changed each other's music so very much. And it established what is generally considered a rivalry between Brian Wilson and Paul McCartney. Even though they never looked at it as a rivalry, it was more like a, hey, you made this awesome thing, I'm going to make this awesome thing. And that's what we're going to talk about here. This is a time when, as music makes people come together, we need to come together and be cool. Just be good to each other. So, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, blah, blah, blah. You know all of that. And let's dive right into the music. And we are going to start off. I have to start off at the beginning. So, Surfin' Safari was put out. It was the Beach Boys' first album. And I wouldn't say they invented the surf rock genre, but they definitely made it huge. And the Beatles picked up on that while they were, at the time, playing at a lot of jazz clubs on the mainland of Europe, and really picked up and dug their music, so they wanted to do something similar. Put out a few albums, Beach Boys put out a few albums, but then, boom! The Beatles put out Rubber Soul. And this is when shit changed. Excuse my language. Rubber Soul started a whole almost rivalric context between Paul McCartney and Brian Wilson. Bring your PB. The J's optional. If you get that joke, awesome. That's also the title of this video. So we start off with them doing, long after the Beach Boys' Surfin' Safari, If I Needed Someone, which is on Rubber Soul. Unbelievable album. It kind of changed music. Like, I don't know how to pontificate without extending what I have to say for about 45 minutes. But the album Rubber Soul really started a change. And the selection I have from there is If I Needed Someone, which is awesome. Also, if you are a fan of metal, Typo Negative does an awesome cover of this. Did an awesome cover. Peter Steele, God rest his soul. Following that, Brian Wilson had to answer And then we had Pet Sounds, which arguably changed music more than any other album ever made. Because of a million reasons. But one of the biggest ones is use of every single possible track that was available in the studio. So we're talking about studios that were made for recording an orchestra and a rock band put together something that took up every single fracking channel of this mixing board. Which, if you don't know anything technically about music, things are done in tracks. A lot of garage bands perform 4 tracks. A lot of earlier bands performed on 8 tracks. Most bands from 1960 so on have done things on 16 or 32 tracks. And then you have 64 tracks. Then you have 128 tracks, which we'll get to eventually. But 64 tracks. Nobody had ever done this before outside of using a jazz band or an orchestra. And this was huge. And one of the most amazing pieces on this album is Wouldn't It Be Nice? I love this song. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Because I want to hold your hand. That's what I should have named this video, but I didn't. So the Beatles had to answer. And they put out Revolver. Oh my gosh, amazing. And this was when the Beatles were starting to split up and do their own things, but still were a little cohesive. And Eleanor Rigby. Amazing, classic piece of music. A lot of the stuff I'm putting up here, usually I put in the deep cuts, but I'm putting up some stuff that became singles and became huge because they're such amazing songs. And I really want to share them with you. And I want to, make this a very good and enjoyable and cohesive playlist. Then the Beatles put out Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And the song that I selected is A Day in the Life, which Paul McCartney actually collaborated with John Lennon. And it has 4 movements, and they're all so different, but it works so well. It works so perfectly. It's like when you listen to music by some composers. Mozart comes to mind first, but Mozart always comes to mind first for me. Anyone who follows this channel knows what I'm talking about. But A Day in the Life. Paul and John wrote this together, and it is absolutely amazing. So Brian Wilson heard this. And this is when the Beach Boys were really on the rocks with each other. They were not getting along. Technically, the last album they had was Smile. And this is Heroes and Villains. What I love is that each band keeps getting more and more and more and more and more experimental with each album they put out. And if you dig prog rock, if you dig electronic music, if you dig progressive jazz, all these things, you have the polite rivalry between the Beatles and the Beach Boys to thank for that. So next time you're listening to Styx and singing along with Come Sail Away, just remember, if it weren't for the Beach Boys and the Beatles, you probably wouldn't have that. Following that, the Beatles decided to put out another album. And it was just called The Beatles. Most people refer to it as the White Album. And my selection for that is Blackbird by Paul McCartney, which is just a heart-wrenching song. It's really good. Really great. I can't remember the exact story that Paul told about why he wrote it, but I will include in the description below a video about Paul McCartney talking about his most iconic tracks, because this is all about Paul and Brian, and a little bit about John. The PB and J is optional. Then, this is when, ironically, the Beach Boys were like totally on the rocks, breaking up, and the Beatles were separating more and more. There was one music critic who much later wrote that if you listen to the White Album, you can actually hear the Beatles breaking up. But they did put out one last album, and that was Let It Be. And I'm featuring the track Let It Be by Paul McCartney, which to me is an absolutely unbelievable piece. And I don't even know where to start with it, but it was allegedly, and I don't know this for a fact, but it was allegedly the last song that the Beatles all recorded together as an album. So, some of the most iconic music that we have nowadays goes down to this polite rivalry between Brian Wilson and Paul McCartney. So, thank heavens for that, because we have some great fracking music. I hope you enjoyed this playlist. As always, my playlist has an Easter egg at the beginning and at the end. I did not put one in the middle. I'll be honest with you guys. I couldn't find something to put in the middle that would fit correctly. So that's why I didn't. Because I try and curate music properly and put together a great playlist for you guys. Sometimes I just can't find a certain thing. But normally I have a positive Easter egg and a positive Easter egg at the beginning and the middle, or at the beginning and the end. And then maybe something a little negative in the middle, but, whatever. This actually starts out with a very dark Easter egg. And then it ends with a very light and positive Easter egg. Because at this time in the world, that's what we need, is light and positive, even though we're in a dark time. So I'm going to let you enjoy those. I'm going to let you enjoy the playlist. Like I said, it's in the description down below. While you're down there, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and enjoy the music. I also, right before the Easter eggs, included my two favorite tunes by these bands, which is, first, Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. And second, While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles, which actually was not written by Paul McCartney. It was written by George Harrison. But they're both amazing tracks, and I hope you enjoy them. So I'm going to let you enjoy the music. The channel I'm shouting out this week is Tony Teflon, because this man puts out some amazing content, and more people need to follow him. So get your ass in there after you watch this video and after you watch this playlist and listen to it. Get your ass onto Tony Teflon's channel and subscribe to him because he makes some amazing content, particularly about A Song of Ice and Fire. And I know 90% of the people who follow me are nerds who are into that. So do it. Do it now. I said now. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with the thought: rubber pet revolver, Sergeant, smile, white, let it be. Because that's like kind of disturbing as all hell, isn't it? Anyway, please, next video will be up soon. Live stream's coming up today. First episode of Talking Tolkien. In the meantime, if you would be so kind, please, PLUR, be excellent to one another, and party on.